Hello, and let's start the week off really well. We're going to do the exercise sheet that we have for the consumer arithmetic section. And if you want to find this consumer arithmetic worksheet for yourself, you can go to the Google Classroom and download it from there. This is the invite code that you should use for the Google Classroom. And if you want the link, I will leave the link in the description of the video. Now, the consumer arithmetic exercise sheet is going to have 20 multiple choice questions with a range of objectives. And then we're going to have 5 structured questions. These should be done in approximately 1.5 hours. And I'm going to do the multiple choice working on this sheet without using a calculator because that's the rules for the examination. So these questions are going to take a lot of working sometimes, and I'm going to keep all the working on the question paper as much as I can for the multiple choice section. And for the structured type questions, I'm going to have no choice but to do them on a separate sheet. All right, let's start with the first one. A man's basic wage for a 40-hour week is $2,000. He is paid overtime at a rate of 1.25 times the hourly rate. And if he works for 6.5 hours overtime in a certain week, what is his wage for the week? All right, so what we need here is to figure out what his overtime wage is because he already has the basic wage written there. We know that this here is the same as saying 4 over 4 plus 1 over 4. And all I did was I convert this 1 into 4 over 4. And that would mean that this is 5 over 4. All right, so 5 over 4 means that I'm going to try and take this 5 over 4 and find that times his hourly rate from that. So we first figure out the hourly rate, 2,000 divided by 40, this, and we get 50 here. Next, what I do is I take 5 over 4 and I multiply it by 50, and 5 5s are 25 with a 0, divide by 4, and I'm seeing 6 carry 1, 2 carry 2, and that'll be 5. So 62.50 is his overtime rate, and then I am having 6.5 hours of work. Okay, so 6.5 is the same as saying I'm going to say this here, this 6 can be written as 12 over 2 and 1 over 2, which is 13 over 2. And that means 13 over 2 times 62.50. And the first thing I want to do is divide. So I'm going to get 31.25. All right, so let me just do that. 31.25 multiplied by 13. That is going to be equal to 3125 with a 0 at the end. And I'm seeing that this basically looks like it's going to cross. Now, 2 decimal points is here, and that's what that means. I'm going to have to shift 2 decimal points here. Whatever I'm doing is going to have to cross $312.50. I'm seeing it can either be this or this. Let's check the next part. So then 3 3s are 9. So that's 9 with 1, 2, 3 zeros. So a 9 with 3 zeros. And I'm seeing that this here comes 4 zeros so far in the total. I can see right away that this here is the only answer that's remaining, so I can go right there and stop my working. I don't need to go any further. From the time I see it's 2406.25. All right, I'm just trying to notice here that this 2000 plus whatever I'm getting over here is what is going to be in my answers over here. So far as I did the working and I multiply these two numbers, I noticed that I get a 4 with a 0. A 4 with a 0 means that I'm going to take that 2000 and add a 4 with a 0 so far, and I'm going to get 2400. The only thing that's over 2400 is this one down here. Again, that's why I chose D. I don't need to do all the working. I just need to figure out the answer. All right? They don't give you marks for the working. All right, let's do number 2. At the end of any year, a car is worth 5% less than what it was worth at the beginning of the year. If a car is worth 95,000 in December 2016, what was its value in January 2016? Now, I didn't show you this when we were doing the problems. Now, I didn't show you this when we were doing the percentage workings, but let me show you it now. If a car is worth 5% less, then that means it retains 95% of its original value. All right? So then that means that at the end of the year, this here represents 95% of what it was originally. So I'm going to say 95% times the sum value would be equal to 95,000. Now, what I have to do here is I just simply have to take this 95,000 and then multiply it by 100 over 95. 95 into this 1, so 1 with 1, 2, 3 zeros, and then add 2 zeros when I multiply by 100, and I get 100,000. The answer is A. A man's taxable income is 200,000. He pays a tax at a rate of 28%. What amount of income tax does he pay? So we want to see the amount he pays in taxes, which is 28% of 200,000. 1, 2, 1, 2, and then we have 28 by 2, which is 4 with a 0, and then 8 2s are 16, which is 56, and then we put in the 3 zeros here, meaning 1, 2, 3, and we get 56,000. This is how much he pays in tax. A man's basic wage for a 40-hour work week is $2,000. He's paid $50 per hour for overtime. If he works 6.5 hours overtime in a certain week, what is his wage for that week? Okay, so all we have to do is figure out how much his overtime wage is. His overtime wage will be equal to his overtime rate times his overtime hours. All right, so then that means his $50 per hour times 6.5, which is the same as saying 13 on 2. And we just simply cancel here. This is 25. So I'm going to take 25 and multiply it by 13. I'm going to take 25 by 1 and then a 0 because the 1 is in a tens position. So I'm saying 25 with a 0. Then I'm going to take 2 by 3, which is 6 with 1 0, 6 with 1 0, since the 2 is in the tens position. And then 5 by 3 is 15. I'm going to add those up together. So this is 5, then it's 6 and 6 is 12. So I'll put a 2 here with a 1 here, and then I bring down the 2 below that, and I will get 325. All right, so 25 by 13 is 325. So I'm going to see 325, which one that has the answer? That's B. If $6.80 is equivalent to $1 US, then $15 in US is how much? Okay, so 6.80 is equivalent to $1 US. That means 1, well, whatever currency that is, would be equal to 1 over 6.80. And then 15 would be equal to 15 divided by 6.80. Now, to do this, I'm going to just simply move the decimal place 1 and then add a 0 on the end here. So I get 150 divided by 68. Let's do some cancellations now. 68, sorry. All right, and then we say, okay, 2 into this is 34. 2 into this is 75. 2 into this would be, well, I can say 34. So 34 times 2 would be 68. So that means 2. And then I'm going to remain with 68, 75 minus 68 is going to be 7. So I'm going to get 7 over 34. All right. Let's see. I am going to have 2 and something. So I'm saying 7 divided by 34. I'm going to say dot with a 0 at the end of it. So this is 70. And that will be 68 again. So I'm going to get 2.2. And 2.2 so far is this one here, so I'm going to take this answer. The annual interest rate on a 15-year mortgage on a house valued at that is 5% per annum. What is the interest paid on the mortgage for the first year? All right, so we're looking at 5% of 1200000. All right, so we're just looking at the interest for the first year. And that's 12 by 5, which is 60, and then 1, 2, 3 zeros, and the answer is 8. Mary invested 20,000 for 5 years at 5% per annum. John invested 50,000 on the same rate. If they both received the same amount of money in simple interest, how much years did John invest for? Okay, well, then that's simple to do. We're using the same principal by rate by time formula. So we're going to say principal for, well, let's separate it into Mary and John. We know that the amount of interest that they get was equal. So I'm just going to say Mary I and John I, so it represents their interest. So I'm going to say that 20,000 times the 5 over 100 is going to be equal to the 50,000 times the 5% rate times some unknown amount of years and then divide by 100. Now, anything in the same positions, once it's on an equal sign, will cancel off. So, for example, this year would cancel off with this year because it's in the same position. This year would cancel off with this year since it's in the same position. And then we have 20,000 by 5. Now, if it is that I want to find out what this little box has inside of it, I'm going to need to divide both sides by this 50,000. So I'm going to get something like this. I'm going to get 20, 1, 2, 3 divided by 50, 1, 2, 3 times 5. 5 will cancel here and leave me with 1, with 1, 2, 3, 4. Cancel 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, and I get 2. So that means 2 years is what his investment was. Now, a salesman sells a car at 110,000. He is paid a commission of 4.5% for the first 100,000 and 7.5% on the remainder. How much commission does he receive? Okay, so we want to do 4.5% commission on the first 100,000. 2 zeros here, 2 zeros here. Shift 3 decimal places. 1, 2, 3. So he gets 4,500 on the first 100,000. Then he gets 7.5 on the remainder. The remainder from the 100,000 is 10,000. So I'm going to say 7.5 over 100 on the 10,000. So I'm canceling 2, and then shift 1, 2 decimal places. So I'm adding 750. Adding these together, I'm going to see 7 and 5 is 12 with a 4 and a 5 with a 0. And this is going to be 5250. So I'm going to get B. A television set costs 3,500 if paid in cash. When bought on hire purchase, a deposit of 500 is required. followed by 12-month payments of 300. How much is saved by paying cash? Okay, saved by paying cash, we know that hire purchase is always going to be higher than cash. So let's figure out the hire purchase and subtract from the cash price. So the hire purchase price is the 500 plus the 12 payments of $300. And then I'm going to take that and subtract the 3,500 from it. 12 by 3 is 36. 36 with two zeros. 36 with two zeros. And then I have 500 here, which gives me 4100 minus 3500. So 4,000 minus 3,000 relieves me with 1,000. And then 100 minus 500 means I'm subtracting 400, and that leaves me with 600. The answer is A. I saved $600 by paying in cash. Mr. Jones bought a car for $150,000. The car depreciates by 20% in the first year and by 10% in each of the following years. What is the value of the car at the end of the second year? All right. So again, I'm going to show you something with percentages. If something depreciates by a value of 20%, it means that it is going to lose that 20%. If it loses that 20%, it remains with 80%. Remember, you have 100% total that you start with, and if you lose 20%, it means that you remain with 80% of the original value. So it remains with 80% of the original value. Why am I doing it like this? Why am I not finding 20% of this and then subtracting it from this and then going and doing the 10% after? Answer, if I do the 80% calculation, I don't need to do any subtractions. So if a car depreciates by 20% in the first year, it means it retains 80% of its original value. All right, so if this is the value of the car, this is what it depreciates by, which is 20%, then I remain with this 80%. So 80% of 150, two zeros here, two zeros here, and I have 15 times 8, which is going to be 80, and 40, which is 120, and I have 1, 2, 3 zeros, 1, 2, 3 zeros. So this is the value of the car after I remain with that 80%. Then it loses 10% on the second year. So what does that mean? It means if I'm losing 10% on the second year, so this is now the value of the car. This 120,000 is now the value of the car. If I am losing 10% of that value, I'm going to remain with 90% times 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so 120,000. Divide by 100, two zeros remove here, two zeros remove here. Then that means I'm going to take 12 by 9, which is 90, 18, 108. And then I'm going to put back in 1, 2, 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3. I remain with the answer A. Let's do number 11. The value of a plot of land is 180,000. The land tax is charged at the rate of 70 cents per every $100 value. What is the total amount of tax paid for the land? Okay, how many $100 do we have in 180,000? That means 180,000 divided by 100, and we get 1,800. Then I'm going to take that 1,800 and multiply it by the 7. So let's see how much that is. 1 by 7 is 7, 10's position, so that's 70. 7 by 8 is 56, so 56. And we have 126, so we have 126. 126. The only thing that looks like that value is this. Now, I have to do a few manipulations still to be able to get my answer, but at the end of it, I am going to need the digits 1, 2, and 6 inside of the answer. So if I had two things with 1, 2, and 6, then I would definitely have to make sure of the answer, but I know it's going to be this one, all right? If you want me to just confirm the answer for you, let me just do this out, and notice it's two zeros at the end of the 18, so I add 1, 2 zeros. Notice that we go 1 decimal place to get the 7, right? We use 7, we didn't use 70, so 1 decimal place to get the 7. So then that means I need to move 1 decimal place this way. Notice it's saying 1260. A man buys a refrigerator for 5,500 and sells for a profit of 12%. What is the selling price of the refrigerator? So he sells for a profit of 12%. That means he's going to gain the original value plus that 12% of the original value. So he's going to have 112% of the original value in return. So I'm going to just find 112% of 5,500. So this here cancels, this here cancels. So I'm going to write this a little bit differently. I'm going to take the 55 and put it on the top, and I'm going to take the 112 and put it on the underneath. Why I'm doing that? I'm doing that because of the ones down here. It's easier for me to do that multiplication and get closer to the answer, not the answer itself, but closer to the answer so I can make that decision quickly. All right, so I'm going to say 5 by 1 with 1, 2, 3 zeros. So 5 with 1, 2, 3 zeros. And then I'm going to say 5 by 1 with 2 zeros. So 5 with 2 zeros. And I'm seeing that right away I'm going to get 5,500. Okay, move on to the next one. I'm going to see 5 by 1 with 1, 2 zeros. So 5 by 1 with 1, 2 zeros. Then I'm going to see 5 by 1 with 1 0, 5 by 1 with 1 0. Notice I'm going to get 6,050 so far. All right. Then I'm going to take 5 by 2, which is 10 with 2 zeros. Sorry, 10 with 1 0. So 10 with 1 0. Then 5 by 2 is 10, and that's just 10 by itself. Notice that I'm getting 6160. And answer is A. Let's go to the next one. A store offers a discount of 15% on all items. If a television originally cost 12,000, what is the price after the discount? Okay, so the discount is 15%. That means I am losing 15% of the original value. If I'm losing 15% of the original value, I'm going to remain with 85% of the original value. So I'm looking to find 85% of the $12,000. 1, 2, 1, 2. So I'm going to have to take 85 and multiply it by 12, and that is 85 by 1, so 85 with a 1 in the tens position, so I add a 0. Then 8 by 2 is 16 with a 0 at the end. Then 5 by 2 is 10, and let's add that together. So this is 9, 0, 0, and then this is 6 and 6, 12, so that's 12, and we get 10, 20. Now it has a 0 here, so this here is the answer. If an appliance costs, let me just erase this little piece here. If an appliance costs 4,500 and is purchased with a 10% deposit, how much is the deposit? Okay, so we're only interested in the deposit, so it's 10 over 100 times 4, 5, 1, 2. Obviously 1, 2 zeros, 1, 2 zeros, 45 by 10. Then that means we get 450, answer E. A man invests 10,000 at a rate of 5% per annum, simple interest for 4 years. How much interest does he earn? Okay, so that's 10, 1, 2, 3, times 5, times 4, all over 100. 1, 2, 1, 2. 5 by 4 is 20, with 2 zeros, 1, 2, 2,000. Answer B. The price of a washing machine is 8,000. If it is bought and hire purchase, a deposit of 1,200 is required, followed by 12 monthly payments of 700. How much is paid in total? Let's find out the total from the installment payments. So I'm going to say 12 times 7. That is going to be 1 by 7 is 7 with a 0. 7 twos are 14, and that's 84. So 84 with 2 zeros. That's the amount that you have to pay from the monthly payments, the monthly installments. Then I'm going to add that to 1,200, and it's going to be 9,600. B. That is how much you're going to pay in total. A car is bought for 250,000 and depreciates by 15% each year. What is the value at the end of the first year? All right, so if we lose 15% of the original value, then that means we remain with 85%. Okay, so we have 85 over 100 times 250, 1, 2, 3. 2 zeros here, 2 zeros here. We have 85 by 25, and then we add 2 zeros to that answer at the end of it. So we start off here, 8 twos are 16 with 2 zeros, then 5 twos are 10 with 1 0, then we have 8 fives are 40 with 1 0, 40 with 1 0, 5 fives are 25, so 25 over here. So we have 5, we have 2, we have 10 and 1, 11, and then we have that 1 up there, so we get 21, 25. That is the value of the car, 21, 25 with 2 zeros. That's this answer here. A man saves 500 per month for 2 years. How much does he save in total? Okay, so 2 years has 24 months, and he's saving 500 a month. So we're taking 24 and multiplying it by 5. 5 twos are 10 with 1 0. 5 fours are 20, and we get 120. Put 2 zeros at the end of that because it's 500, not 5. And we get $12,000, which is C. A car was bought for 500,000 and depreciates by 10% in the first year, 5% in the second year. What is the value of the car at the end of the second year? Okay, so in the first year, we lose 10% of the value. That means 90% is what remains of the 500,000. So 1, 2, 1, 2. 9 by 5 is 45, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, so it's 450,000. In the second year, it loses 5% of the value, so then that means we remain with 95% of the original value. So take that 45, 1, 2, 3, 4. We say 1, 2, 1, 2, and then we have to take 95 and multiply by 45. So 95 by 45. 9 fours are 36 with 2 zeros. 5 by 4 is 20 with 1 0. Then we have 9 by 5 is 45 with 1 0. Then we have 5 by 5 is 25. So I'm just going to add this up now. And this is 5, this is 7, this is 10 and 2, it's 12, put that here, and then 1 with the 3 makes that 4, so I get 4275 with 2 zeros at the end, so it's 427,000 B. Let's do the last multiple choice question. A customer buys an item priced at 5,000 with a 5% sale tax. What is the total amount paid, including tax? Okay, so the first thing we have to do is add that sales tax onto the original price. So we're gaining 5% on the original value. We're gaining 5% on the original value, so that's 105% of the original value. So that's that by 5,000. 1, 2, 1, 2. So we take 105, we multiply it by 5. So 1 by 5 with 2 zeros, and that's 0. 5, 5 is 25, and that's 5, 25, and then a 0 at the end over here, so 0, and that is the answer B. All right, so that is the end of the multiple choice section. If there was anything that I did in this multiple choice section that seems to confuse you, or anything that I did that you don't understand how I did it or why I did it the way I did, please let me know. I will create a separate video for any issues that is related to this solution sheet. Anyway, that's it. We're moving on to the structured questions now, and I will do this on separate paper. All right, let's start with the first question. So Harish works at a call center for 35 hours each week. He's paid at as an hourly rate. Calculate the amount of money he earns in a 4-week month. Okay. And a certain week, he works 8 hours overtime. Overtime is paid at 1.5 times the usual rate of 11.20 per hour. That is not a question. So this here is not a question. This is just a pre-statement. All right. And you're required to, this here should be a B instead of a C. You're required to find the total amount of money Harish is paid for that week. All right. That shouldn't be too much trouble. Let's try and do that now. So the first thing we want to do is calculate how much he earns for that 4-week month. So earnings for 4-week month would be equal to his weekly earnings and then we times it by number of weeks. So the weekly earnings would be equivalent to his rate by time, and then we're going to multiply that by 4. So his rate is $11.20 per hour. He works 35 hours, and that's for 4 weeks. Using calculator, let's see what we get. So 11.20 times 35 times 4, and we get 1,568. 1,568. Then let's go on to the next one where we have to figure out the total amount of money he is being paid for a week where he works 8 hours overtime. So his overtime earnings would be equal to 1.5 times 11.20 times that 8 hours overtime that he worked for that week. Let's work that out. So 1.5 times 8 hours times 11.20. And that means he earns $134.40. So that means for that week, that he works overtime, he's going to have that $134.40, and then he's going to add, I'm just going to simply take that 1,568, divide that by 4, so I can be able to get that weekly earning. All right, and that result would be what? So we're going to say 134.4 plus 1,568 over 4, and we get $526.40. So $526.40. That's how much he's going to earn in that week he work overtime. Let's do the next one. Okay, children go to a rodeo camp during the Easter holiday. Miss Rika buys bananas and oranges for the children at the camp. Bananas cost $3.85 per kilogram. She buys 25 kilograms of bananas and receives a 12% discount. How much money does she spend on bananas? Then we have to figure out that if she spends $165.31 and the sales tax is 15% on oranges, calculate the original price of the oranges. Then we have to figure out the ratio of the number of bananas to the number of oranges. Furthermore, there are 24 more oranges than bananas. And then we have to calculate the number of bananas she bought. Now, going through this, I just realized that this here is also a question that has information. So this here is supposed to be C. All right, let's try and see if we can solve this. All right, first thing we want to do is we want to find out the cost of the bananas without the discount. So I'm going to say cost of bananas would be equal to the rate times the mass. She is spending $3.85 per kilogram and she's buying 25 kilograms. That means she is going to spend 96.25. 96.25. All right. So the next thing we have to figure out is how much it's going to cost her after the discount. Now she receives a 12% discount, then that means the price after discount would be equal to 88% of the $96.25. Doing that on the calculator, 88 times 96.25%, and we get 84.7. So $84.70 is what she pays for the bananas. Now in part B, we know that she paid $165.31. This comes from the original price plus 15% of that original price. What does that mean? That means that we have 100% here plus that 15% to give me 115%. So 115% of the original price would be equal to 165.31. That means if I want to figure out the original price, then I simply take that 165.31 and then divide by that 115%. All right. Now, if I want to remove that percentage sign, all I have to do is just simply take this, multiply by 100 over 115. But I can just simply use my calculator, 115%, and I will get my answer. So 165.31 divided by 115%, and I will get $143.75. So $143.75. Let's do part C now. And we say we're required to calculate the number of bananas that she bought. Now, the ratio of bananas to oranges is 2 to 3. And we know that she bought 24 more oranges than bananas. The difference between the oranges and bananas is 1 share difference, which represent 24 items. 2 shares of bananas represent 2 times 24 bananas. So that is 48 bananas total. Let's go to the next question. When Megan started working, she was paid $85 each week. After a 6-month probationary period, her pay was increased by 20%. How much was she paid each week after the increase? Okay, so she started at $85 a week. She's now earning an increase of 20% more. So that means 120% of that $85 is her new earnings. Let's do that on the calculator. 120 times 85%, 102. So she's now earning $102 per week. Nothing difficult there. Now, as I said, you can just simply take 20 divided by 100 times 85, find out the value of this. $17, and then I can take the 85 and add to my 17, and that would be equal to 90 plus 12, 102. Same thing. All right, I'm just doing that to show you get the same answer. All right, let's do number 4. Irma's take-home pay is $4,320 per fortnight. That's every 2 weeks. Each fortnight, Irma's pay is allocated according to the following table. Rent, a certain amount we don't know. Food, $629. Other living expenses, twice that of her rent. And her savings, $1,750. Total, $4,320. We are required to find her annual take-home pay, the amount of money she allocates to rent each month. All of Irma's savings is used to pay her son's tuition costs, which is that if Irma pays, this is not a part of the questions again. Wow, do a lot of that. All right, so all of Irma's savings is used to pay her son's university tuition costs of $150,000. If Irma's pay remains the same and she saves the same amount each month, what is the minimum number of years that she must work in order to save enough money to cover her son's tuition costs? No problem there. Let's solve this. All right, so the first thing we want to do is determine her annual take-home pay. Annual meaning for the year, and we know there are 52 weeks in the year. So annual take-home pay would be equal to 52 weeks times 4,320 every 2 weeks. All right, 2 into this 1, 2 into this is 2, 6. So it's 26 by 4,320. 26 times 4,320. We get 112,320. 112,320. Let's do the next part. Now, from the table provided, we know that her rent, which was represented by X, plus her food, which was $629, plus other living expenses, which is 2 times her rent, plus her savings, which was 1,750, would be equivalent to her total salary, which was 4,320. All right, let's add up what we can add up together. We know that 1 times her rent plus 2 times her rent will be 3 times her rent. And then I'm just going to take this 629 and add it to this 1750. And I will be able to get 2379, which is equal to 4320. So 3 times her rent would be equal to 4320 minus 2379. Let's do that on the calculator so I can save time. So 4320 minus 2379, and we get 1,941. So 3 times her rent is equal to $1,941. So her rent would be equal to 1,941 divided by 3, which is 3 into this 1, 3 into this, 6 3s 18 carry 1, 4 3s 12 carry 2, and 7 3s 21. So we get $647. Therefore, her rent is $647. Let's do the last part. Now, she needs a total savings of $150,000, and she's doing that at a rate of $1,700, and let me just put right there, savings, $1,750 every month. We don't know how much that month value is, but we can see that if we want to figure out that month value, we can take that 150,000 and divide it by that 1750. We'd be able to get $85 and 5/7. Now let's divide that by 12. Number of years would be equal to the number of months divided by 12, which is 7 1/7. Therefore, she needs to save for a minimum of 8 years. All right, they're not asking for the amount of months, and since it crossed 7, we have to do 8. If she saved for 8 years, she'll definitely cross the 150,000. All right, last question. Jenny works at Sam's restaurant and is paid according to the rates in the following table. $600 basic wage and 90 cents for each customer she serves. In a week, when Jenny serves N customers, her weekly wage, W subscript J, in dollars is given by the formula WJ is equal to that basic wage plus that 90 cents multiplied by the number of customers she serves. Determine Jenny's weekly wage if she served 230 customers in that week. Oh, that's just simple. I don't even need to go to any other page. I'm just going to take this WJ, and it's going to be equal to the 600 plus 0.90 times that 230 customers. Let's work that out on the calculator. 600 plus 0.9 times 230, and we get $807. So she's going to earn $807 for that week. In a good week, Jenny's wage is $1,000 or more. What is the least number of customers that Jenny must serve in order to have a good week? Well, that's simple. We need the wage here to be greater than equal to $1,000. So I'm going to say something like this. I'm going to say 600 plus 0.9n must be greater than or equal to $1,000. All right, so we say that 0.9n must be greater than or equal to 1,000 minus this 600, which means that 0.9n greater than equal to 400. Next, we say n must be greater than equal to the 400 divided by 0.9. 445. 445 customers. Right, that's it. Last one didn't need much working. I don't think I need to do a separate sheet for anything. And this is the solutions to everything. If you have any questions, comments, issues about the structured questions as well, please let me know. Any issues whatsoever in my calculations, methodology, or anything that you see that you might have an issue with, please let me know. And yes, it does sound like I'm begging you to tell me I want the feedback. The feedback will be good. And I will see you for the next lesson.